Estrellea, written and read by Billy Sheely. Chapter 9. Morning sun breaks the sky. The storm has passed, leaving in its wake the devastation of the night that passed. I awaken to a bright room, filled with rays of sun, water dripping from the eave above the window, birds singing as light floods the day, proving an end to the violence of the night before. Farms were pounded, fields were flooded, crops were lost. Looking out my window, one can see strength is not of what builds communities, but rather communities gain their strength from each person working together. The vineyards down the hill appear that they have taken the hardest hit. There is debris everywhere. One can see the leaves and grapes scattered across the ground. However, the passion of such natural violence has not dissuaded them, for I can see all the neighbors they have banded together to clean the vineyards, removing what little remains from last night's wrath. As I look over, Luciana is sleeping so peacefully, I take the chance that perhaps I can start my day without waking the naked beauty sleeping against my tender embrace. I sit up in the bed as smoothly as I can, swing my feet off its edge before placing them on the floor. This morning the floor happens to be cold upon my bare feet. Luciana in her fast retreat forgot to close the door. As not to wake her, I dare not close it. Finding my way, winding down the stairs, I reach the kitchen where I see half my orchard has lost its crop. What a great loss. This loss is so great. I fear the distributors may run short. Not to fret, my neighbors have arrived. They are working tirelessly to remove the damage, as there is nothing that can be done for the loss. All the salvageable fruit will go to the local distributor for food stores. Entering the greenhouse, I make my way down to my coca and coffee bushes. I pick a handful of coca leaves and a basket of cherries before heading back inside. Inside, I find a kettle behind the sink on the counter. Place it under the pitcher pump where I put a drawer or two of water in it. Place the kettle on the stove, setting the basket of cherries on the table. I grab a knife, proceeding to slice the coca leaves. These I place inside a ceramic cup. No sooner than I had prepared the leaves, the kettle is beginning to sing. I remove the kettle before it sings so loudly as to wake Luciana. After pouring my cup, sitting there, I eat my cherries, waiting for the tea to leach. As I think about what to do in regards to Earth, my report is on its way to completion, but it never seems to be enough. Drinking the tea, sitting in the passing of a mighty storm, not sure what, if anything, could be done to the council's satisfaction. As my tea cools, I refill my cup with more hot water from the kettle. Seeing as to how the neighbors outside have banded together gives me hope. Not that Australians are Earthlings, but just maybe under such cataclysm, Earth too could learn that strength comes from each other and not by force. Picking up my cup of tea, walking out the kitchen, and winding myself up the stairs, I head to the library. Much has to be done before the council. Council meetings are generally held weekly, so it's much the same each time we meet. The elders want to know what's happening. I tell them that the Earthlings are still destroying each other, still waging war against nations of indifference, still exploiting resources to the point of planetary death. Elders ask me about your advancements, and all I can say is there are none, because the advancements are greed-based and not sustainable. Yes, technology is growing, but not equally or renewably. Advancements are made for profit rather than for common sense or common good. Walking into the library, I go to the table, picking up my crystal from last night. Stepping over to the plethora, I sigh, taking a deep breath before, once again, lowering my face into its time gel, being transported through the interdimensional roller coaster of space and time. This is the Luciana awakens to the bright morning of the storm's passing. Looking over, it's evident that Estrellea has already began his day. Getting up from the bed, Luciana goes to the window. Looking out, the wreckage from last night still shows, but the day proves promising. Walking to the closet, Luciana chooses a simple house robe. Much to catch up on today. The robe she chose is made of fine cotton rather than silk. It's more brown than tie-dyed with faint resemblances of the colors that once shone bright, but faded into something more appropriate for cleaning rather than the market. Sliding into her well-worn and soft cotton, something comforting came over Luciana, as the thick, warm, and worn cotton wraps around her nakedness. "Astriel," she said softly, If only I could understand. The compassion that compels you to protect something so destructive. With a sense of understanding, knowing that she too has deep compassion for Astriel's, regardless of his self-destructive means. Fragna lifts her head from where it was laying on the bed, looks around, deciding, and it's not quite time to get up yet. She stands up, turns a half circle before laying back down. Walking to the bedroom door, Fragna! Alicia calls out. Come on, let's get started. Fragna lifts her head. Looks Luciana's way, turns another quarter circle, this time not getting up, rather wrapping herself in the blankets. Okay, if you insist, but I'm not sleeping all day. Unlike you, I actually have work. As if in response, Fragna rolls over, her butt in Luciana's general direction, proceeding to fart. Luciana just smirks. Oh, really? Is that so? I don't think that was necessary. Turning around and walking out, Luciana winds her way to the kitchen so she could fix something for breakfast before starting her day. Entering the kitchen, it's very apparent that Astriel has already started his day. If the empty place in bed wasn't evidence enough, Astriel not only left the kettle sitting on the table, but on the table also sat a pile of coffee pits, a green stain from coca, a dirty knife, and a chair that wasn't in its place. Astriel has never made a good housekeeper. Good thing Luciana is very forgiving. Before setting to work, Luciana herself goes out into the greenhouse, where she takes her small basket, picking a variety of small herbs, a few sprigs of peppermint buds, a couple coca leaves, a few coffee cherries, and kale, before heading back inside. Once inside, Luciana takes the kettle, putting another few pools of water in it, then places it on the stove to boil. With the kettle heating, Luciana sets to prepping tea. She places the basket on the counter, rather than the table, minces the peppermint and coca together, slices the cherries into quarters. After prepping the herbs, she sets them in a strained basket inside a ceramic pot. Setting the kale on the side, the kettle begins singing. After removing the kettle from the stove, Luciana pours the boiling water over the basket of herbs and cherries to steep. Picking up the dishes from last night and Astri's mess this morning, Luciana places the lot in the sink. Before working on her breakfast, Luciana walks into the cooler, grabs a few eggs, some cheese, and ham, going back to the counter, where she takes a loaf of bread from the baker up the street, slices 3 ends off, setting the loaf back. Taking the kale she set aside, Luciana roughly slices it into chunks rather than whole leaves. Considering she didn't turn the stove off after removing the kettle, Luciana checks the flat top, ensuring the grill is still hot. Cracking her eggs on the grill, the whites begin to sizzle as the eggs crackle away. Luciana slices 4 pieces of cheese, setting the block back into the chiller. When her eggs are about halfway cooked, Luciana adds the ham, breaking her yolks and mixing the kale in, then forms them into something that resembles a burger, only instead of beef they are eggs. Using the spatula, Luciana flips her eggs, places her bread slices on the grill to toast them. After her bread has been toasted, Luciana places the toast slices on the counter and proceeds to build her breakfast. Setting a slice of cheese on one slice of bread, she sets 1 egg atop the cheese, sets the second slice of cheese on top her egg, then doing the same to the second slice of bread. After assembling her eggs, Luciana stacks the 2 pieces, placing the final slice of cheese and toasted bread on top, assembling a double-decker breakfast sandwich. Following the assembly of her breakfast, Luciana takes a small saucer, setting the sandwich on it, then fills a cup with her freshly steeped tea. Picking up her saucer, grabbing her cup, Luciana takes her tea and breakfast out to the rose garden. Placing my face into the plethysm's time gel, my subconscious takes that roller coaster through the fabric of space and time, across the multiverse, where its destination is the consciousness of my twin Benjamin. There is much that has happened since my departure from Ben last night. Earth, too, was traversing a storm of turmoil. Citizens of that world are falling desperate and taking actions of otherwise destitute reasonings. Everyone is looking to get their 3 minutes of fame to be remembered for the violence they caused, rather than the difference they could make. Since last night on Earth, since last night on the Earth timeline, I see through Ben's memories, there have been 20 school shootings in that time. Rather than fighting to expose that evil for what it is, politicians and citizens alike are calling for the rulers of nations to make drastic changes. These changes are for the New World Order. The UN is devising a world order that is designed to end all global violence. This order consists of citizen control through genetic programming. The first step is to fear citizens that no viable solution is possible. They claim that the North Korean military plan, the election meddling, and the school violence are all due to genetic inferiority, and that all mental illness can be stopped through a program of geneticism, limiting the development of an abnormal psyche, when in truth it's not the genetic psychological development, rather the environment that surrounds that developing mind. Part of that order is that of brainwashing the unstable minds of young adults, leading them to create public panic. For there does exist true evil, however, that evil does not have to evolve into mass mayhem, although without such mayhem, acts of public evil, the public would not support such measures. Hitler took the same approach with his Third Reich by creating schools of communism for the creation of the New World Order. Where Hitler failed is the public never accepted his approach, as current world leaders found his actions to be that of the purest evil. Although, if one were to sit on the sidelines, they could brainwash a few. Those few will take the actions they were designed to take. This would lead the world in demanding that all overseers resolve the terrorism. The regime is genius. Find a global common belief, turn it into a lie, demonstrate that lie, reinforce that lie, teach the lie, and soon the masses will follow the lie, leading to a global discord of corrupt power. Though North Korea is not part of the lie, the UN has added them to their corrupt lie. North Korea is trying to overturn that lie, not with another lie, but with force of dominance, to be the one global leader, as without a singular leadership to dictate, the world will remain diverse. In the U.S., as mentioned, over 20 public mass shootings have taken place. Citizens of the free world are now demanding for communism control, where the government is expected to control every aspect of one's day-to-day life. This is splitting one of the few free nations into millions of pieces. This has been happening for some time now, except now the citizens are demanding the government take steps of control that otherwise would never have been allowed in a nation run by citizens, for only a fool relinquishes their power to the governing force of a few. They say power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts ultimately. This is why, in the great wisdom of the nation's founders, they indoctrinated into their constitution the governing force is to reside within the citizens. Though if said citizens voluntarily hand their power over, those that remain radical therefore become terrorists that may legally be removed, improving transition of the New World Order with minimal resistance. I do not spend much time going over the personal details of Ben today, for there is a great threat on the horizon. His threat is much more than the life of a singular individual, so I spend my time today looking through Ben's memories, collecting the necessary information for the council this afternoon. There is much information to be collected: his social media, broadcasted media groups, statements by leaders, the current status of the realm, their advancements, their shortfalls, and the general trend of events. I then must take this information and run it through our simulation models in hopes that an answer will arise itself, for the fate of all worlds may reside in this one realm. Luciana just finished her breakfast and was filling the sink with hot water when a knock at the door erupted the silent house. "Oh, now what? Who could that be?" she said, walking out of the kitchen through the commons before answering the door. Opening the door, there stood Rashim. "Luciana?" He dipped his head. Good morning, madam. Hell of a storm last night. I hope you fared well. Rashim? Luciana looked at him. Good morning to you, too. Loss is minimal, so what brings you here? I know it wasn't the storm, she stated. Why, yes, ma'am. I already know how you feel about me, Rashim answered. Glad to hear everything is fine. I was hoping Astrid is available. At Rashim's request, another storm cloud rolled in. Luciana could feel it roiling up. This time courtesy vanished. Excuse me, Rashim. I thought that maybe once you may have dropped by on my behalf. I see that was wrong. Luciana slung his way. It's because of you and this bullshit that Astriel's energy keeps draining. If you think for 1 second that I believe your precious Earth is this important, Luciana continued, then you have seriously lost your coal mining brain, she insulted. No, Astriel is not available. I do believe that he is in his library doing your fucking dirty work. Now, mistress, Rashim interjected, that is in no form ladylike. Ladylike? Luciana screamed. I am not no lady. In fact, Astriel called me a witch last night. So unless you want a broom shoved up your dwarven ass, I swear you better tread carefully, exclaimed Luciana in a deep bellow. Mistress! Thundered out of Rashim. I'm sorry. As I said, I already know how you feel about me. As he continued in a softer tone, Astriel's responsibility is to the council, not me, Rashim assured her. However, that does not change his obligation. May I come in? He asked. You know what? Luciana said. At this point, I just really don't fucking care. Come in, stay out, do whatever in the realms you want, because I have work to do, she snapped Rashim's way. Turning around and walking off, leaving the front door hanging open, Luciana went back into the kitchen, finishing the sink full of dishes. To the sound of ceramic coming from the general kitchen area, Rashim walked inside, not daring to go anywhere near Luciana. On this day, it would seem to be a good thing that Rashim knows his way around Astriel's house, as not to increase Luciana's storm intensity. Walking through the commons and past the crackling fireplace, Rashim makes his way to the stairwell entrance, beginning his climb around the spiral construction to the library where Astriel is currently on an interdimensional mission of politics trying to save 2 worlds. This is the end of Chapter 9.